Hello, how are you all doing this morning? I just finished up today's fountain pen sketch drawing of a landscape master. This one was John William Casilear, River Landscape with Sheep. The way I came across this one, I have this fantastic book, Different Views in the Hudson River School Painting. Highly, highly, highly recommended. I talked about it in the past, about how it compares painters painting the same scene, different times of day, different times of year, etc. Anywho, so I pretty much just opened to a random page, saw a painting that I liked, looked at the artist name, Googled the artist, glanced through a few of his paintings, saw one that looked interesting, and then you just started working at it. So that was kind of the picking process this morning, just being tired and wanting to jump into this. So with this one, once again, what draws it to me, this was the Hudson River Valley School, where they were painting these huge vistas, these scenes from America's landscape. And this one is just absolutely fantastic, and it was a real challenge. There was a lot going on in it. I'm not sure how well it shows up on this screen, but first of all, perspective-wise, talking about like the huge vistas, we have this foreground, then we have this midground, which is almost like a tree line right there. Then we have another layer of water and some land coming out into that. So this is the river. Then behind that, there's a mountainous feature, and then further behind that, there's a second mountainous feature. So it just goes back further and further and further. So I thought that was really interesting and a great thing to practice, because I want to be able to eventually have these big scenes, vistas, or whatever you'd call it, within my own paintings. So that was the first thing. The second thing was the sheep and the rocks themselves. So there's a lot of sheep dotted all throughout, and it was a little difficult, well, very difficult. And that's what I had started with, was kind of modeling the sheep, just putting in the outline of them. And I noticed right away, these are all quite white. And he put them on top of a lot of shadows, and that really helped them pop out. And then we have one that was in the shade right here. I'm not sure if that's a dog or a sheep. I think it's a sheep based on his shape right here. And he had that one in the shadow. And then even further back, their landscape is dotted with them. So he utilized, that'd be, I guess, counter change, where it's the light against the dark or the dark against the light, in order to place these guys within this landscape. Also, there was a lot of rocks in this foreground, and trying to differentiate between rocks and the sheep, that was something that I thought would be an interesting challenge. One thing that I'm noticing a lot with these landscapes is that there is a lot of directional, not straight across with the landscape, but in this case this one comes down on an angle, and it seems to take place fairly often within these schools of painting. I really like this tree line in the back, and what was cool about it is the one we did yesterday had a stopping point and a stopping point, a big tree mass on either side to prevent the eye from going off the page. Another thing that was really interesting, and I think really important, was the top portion of these trees, the variety, the wave, and the patterns that take place. And that's I think really important, rather than just having a straight top line of trees. What else pointed out at me? These far trees, they have that little bit of shadow underneath and that little bit of light behind, and that kind of helped set those forward. So when I was drawing, I kind of did a dark line for shadows in different spots to sit the trees. Let's see what else. Once again, just a very interesting tree structure. You start looking at those trees and you realize how much they did within them, and wipe the screen. So and it's just really talented. So I think that's kind of just a analysis overview. The sky itself was great too, because there's these tiny, very faint marks for clouds, and you see how light and almost non-existent the sky is, but it just works so well. Okay, so let me show you what my results were. So I've been doing the time lapse so that I can put music on, because I don't think people want to watch an hour, 2 hour drawing and having music on in the background. Anyway, so with this, I put the sheep in first with modeling them, and I tried to darken the areas behind them and to kind of get them to stand out a little bit. Rocks, and as I modeled the rocks, I felt it was really important to ground them with shadows, and in the painting themselves there was a lot of shadows coming out of it, and that gave an interesting perspective. So I tried to angle that light so it looks like the light's coming from the left and casting these shadows over. Sketch wise, there were some spots that were off, and I had to kind of add a little bit of stuff. I think I was a little off vertically here. That tree line back here, here's that dark line underneath that I was talking about, another dark line, so that was helping build layer upon layer. And so here, foreground, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 land masses, mountains, so there's just a lot going on. I started taking a different approach with the trees, where I put them in and I built up the densities, but then I also took horizontal strokes at the end, kind of like these strokes down here, to darken those up as well. Yeah, I think that's all there is I can really say about this. But like I said, once again, structures on each end to stop things. The sheep modeling, so there's the counter change, there's the shadows, the movement of the land rather than just being flat straight across, and it really just seemed to work out. Anywho, hopefully this afternoon I'll be getting some watercolor tutorials going, and I'll talk to you all soon. I hope you enjoyed and have a great day.